Mononucleosis by Sarah Hercules, Brendan Barton, and Morgan Boyer. Hi class, I'm Sarah Hercules, and my partners Brendan, Morgan, and I get to do our presentation on mononucleosis, more commonly known as mono. So I'm sure many, if not all of you, have heard of mono before. Either you've had it yourself, you know somebody who's had it. We're all pretty familiar with at least the term mono and what it can do for us. So a few years ago, I was having a health screen in Rexburg, and as I was having this done, the health professional, he was asking me how I handled mono, and I told him, I've never had it before. And he said, yeah, you have. It's in your spleen. I could see traces of it. They stay with you forever. And I was completely shocked. And I was like, well, I guess I handled it really well because I didn't even know that I had it. And I thought I was really cool that I was able to handle mono and didn't even know that I handled it. And I just thought that I had this amazing body that could handle anything. And little did I know that that's not really what makes me cool. And that actually it's more common than we might think that people have had mono and didn't even know it. And maybe that's even you, that you've had it and didn't know it yet. So through our presentation, we're going to teach you how that's possible and why. So here we go. So the scientific name for mononucleosis is infectious mononucleosis. It's caused by the Epstein-Barr virus, more commonly known as EBV, as well as it can also be caused by cytomegalovirus. The morphology is that this virus is enveloped. It does also include spikes, a core, capsid, and teguments. And in the following slide, we'll show you a picture more closely of that EBV virus. The viral genome is a double-stranded DNA, and the reservoir are humans. Humans are the only known reservoir. So here's that close-up picture of what the EB virus that causes mono looks like. So on the outside, you can see that circle surrounding it, that's the envelope. And then you can see the spikes there that go along the outside as well. In the middle, you can find that dark circle called the core. Then around that is the capsid, followed by the teguments. So there are many different signs and symptoms that you can have or show when you have mononucleosis. So we're going to start with the signs, and you can see a picture there to kind of show you where some of the things would be located if you're not familiar with that. The first sign that you could have would be a fever. And this could be a low fever, a high fever. There's no set range that it would fall under, just any kind of a fever. Another thing would be swollen lymph nodes and your neck and armpits. And the next one that you could get would be swollen tonsils. You could also show in a rash on your skin anywhere on your body. And a large one that you could have would be a soft swollen spleen. And this is really common, and this is actually what showed up on the health scan that I had. There are many different symptoms that you could show also in addition to the various signs that we just went over. So for your symptoms, the number one symptom that people show is fatigue. And your body just needs the rest. And rest is actually the top thing that is recommended if you have mono. Your body needs to rest to get over it. So fatigue is your number one symptom. Another symptom is a swollen throat, and this makes sense with if you have enlarged tonsils or swollen lymph nodes, that you're going to have a sore throat to go along with that. And that actually can cause strep throat. It'll lead up to strep throat, and you're going to need antibiotics to get over that. Another thing is going to be malaise. That's just a general feeling of unwellness is. You could also get headaches, and an interesting thing is that your symptoms with mono actually won't appear until 4 to 6 weeks after you've already been exposed.
Hey everyone, this is Brendan Barton. and I'm also from the group Mononucleosis. We just got done listening to Sarah, and she gave an awesome presentation on some of the signs and symptoms of this disease and how it comes from the Epstein-Barr virus. And she had a awesome first-hand experience of having this disease. She talked about how she had it, and she didn't even know she had it. And I was thinking about it when I was coming up with this presentation, and I couldn't think of any time that I had this disease or had really the symptoms with it. But I was discussing this with my wife and talking about mononucleosis, and she thought back and she remembered that this one time back in high school, she had a boyfriend at the time. He was sick and out of school for like a week, and I guess she was over there all week helping him, and she helped him with his homework. And he was basically in bed the whole week and had a really sore throat, couldn't talk, and they kissed. So the disease was probably spread through that means. And lo and behold, about a few weeks later, she was sick the whole week, was out of school, in bed, and also had like a really sore throat and couldn't talk. So as we can see from her example, a lot of us get this disease and we don't even realize it. So to kind of continue on with this presentation, I have three main topics that I'm going to discuss. First, I'm going to go over transmission of this disease. After that, I'm going to go over a little bit about treatment of this disease, some of the possible things that we can do to help treat this disease. And finally, I'm going to go over prevention, what we can do to help make sure that we don't get it or that our family and friends don't get it in the future. Transmission. Mononucleosis can be transmitted through saliva. It's also called the kissing disease because you can get it through kissing. And this seems to be the most common way of developing this disease. However, it's also transmitted through coughing and sneezing. So make sure if you're around someone that has mononucleosis or you have it, make sure you always cover your mouth and nose when you cough and sneeze. It's also transmitted through sharing glasses and utensils used by someone else who has mono. So make sure you don't share those things with someone who has mono, and just clean glasses and clean utensils frequently and often. Treatment. Now, there's really no specific treatment that's necessary for mononucleosis. However, there are treatments available for some of the side effects that occur with it. Some of the side effects such as strep throat and fever have treatments. And strep throat, the best treatment for it is with penicillin or erythromycin. And if one who has mononucleosis develops a fever or has body aches, acetaminophen is the best bet. And then definitely, as far as treatment is concerned, sleep is highly recommended. Sleep seems to be the cure-all for many diseases, and it definitely will help with the treatment of mononucleosis. Prevention. So to help prevent further transmission, clean and sanitize toys and utensils. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about on transmission. Just make sure utensils and glasses and all those things are definitely clean and sanitized to stop the spread of this disease. And then avoid kissing on the mouth. Once again, it's the most common way of getting this disease, so just avoid that, kissing on the mouth to someone who has mononucleosis. And then definitely wash your hands frequently. And here to the right is a little diagram that shows areas most frequently missed during hand washing. As you can see, the fingertips and in between the fingers are the most common areas of that are missed during hand washing. So just make sure you scrub your hands well if you have mononucleosis or if you're around someone who does. And then also for prevention, just make sure you practice good hygiene. Um, a little bit can go a long way.
Alright, I am Morgan, and I will be going over some incidences and some cool facts about mononucleosis. Alright, so I will be going over a couple interesting facts about mono. And one is that most adults actually carry an antibody against EBV in their blood, meaning that at some point in their life they've become infected with that virus. And once a person is infected with EBV, he or she is immune and they will not contract mono again. And a rare complication is that with that is that your spleen can burst, and this happens about 1 to 2 times per 1,000 cases. Death from mononucleosis is very rare and usually occurs due to splenic rupture. So once again, it's very rare, especially here in the United States, but it can happen. So it's just something to look out for if you do have mono. Some more interesting facts is that mono is not spread through respiratory droplets. So you can live with someone who has mono and not become infected, just as well as you can sit next to someone in class, you can be friends with someone, you can go to the grocery store with someone. Just because you're breathing by them or you're sitting by them does not mean that you will get mono. It has to be through saliva or other methods like that of what Brendan talked about a couple minutes ago. So it's not spread through respiratory droplets. And the people that usually get mono the most are college students, nurses, and people in the military. And this has to do with their environment, and I will go into that a little bit further in the next slide. So incidences of mono. Over 95% of adults worldwide have been infected with the EBV virus. And this is just going back to what I talked about 2 slides ago, and also what Sarah talked about at the beginning of this video. Even if you've never contracted mono before, you think you have it, you might actually have, and I, along with Sarah, also experienced this. My roommate last semester contracted mono. And about a week or 2 after she found out that she had mono, 2 of our other roommates went and got tested, and they had mono. And I was feeling the same exact way that they did, so I figured I would go get checked out as well. And thankfully, I didn't have mono. I actually had pneumonia, but I was around a lot of people in high school who actually contracted mono, and this was the same time period that the swine flu was going around. So there was mono and the swine flu, so I was really careful with the people that I was around, and I was on a lot of sports teams, and so everyone at practice would always just drink out of people's water bottles. They didn't really care what was going on, and I made sure that I always kept my stuff away from everyone else's because I did not want to experience what everyone else was experiencing. But 95% of us actually do have that virus. And in developing countries, 80% to 100% of children come in contact with EBV by the age of 6. And this just has to do with their environment, the way that they live, their lifestyle. They also might not have the tools or the resources to have proper hygiene and to stay clean. And that is really an issue in those kind of those countries. And they also might not even know that about proper hygiene. They might not know that it's not good to drink out of someone else's glass or use their utensils. They might not know about all these diseases, so that's also an issue in those countries. In higher socioeconomic groups, only 50% of children come in contact with EBV between the ages of 1 and 5, so we're getting a little bit better. And then the highest incidence of symptoms occur between the ages of 15 and 24. And this just goes back to what I was saying with the nurses and the college students, they and even military, they all fall between these 2 age groups. So it's just kind of interesting to look at. And overall, the incidences in the United States is roughly 500 cases per 100,000 cases per person. And so we're actually really low with the cases in the United States, but it is an issue and it is something that we need to be worried about. So just make sure that you're taking care of yourself and be aware of your surroundings so that you don't come in contact with mono. And these are our resources.